Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Simon Javan Okelo. I am really excited to bring you this live recording of the Madaraka Festival podcast. We are live at Yuanru Gallery in Bellevue, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Mary Margaret Welch, who is the founder of Civia, an amazing nonprofit organization that is working so hard to bring STEM education to Kenya. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for inviting me to have a conversation with you. It's really special.
Of course, of course. I felt that since you are in the room and we are doing this live recording, and you're doing important work, and we're just fresh off of an amazing fundraising event, you know, it's perfect for us to just reflect on that and just share the story of really where Civia started and where it's going, you know. But before we dive into that, I want us to just take us back, you know, because you're one of the people I know that have impacted so many people in my life. You know, when I go back to Kenya, I always meet my nursery school teacher. She's exactly the same, you know. She doesn't get old, you know. she's still walking these kids to school like she walked me to school, you know. And I feel like you're like that, you know. So talk to us about some of the colors you grew up with, some of the sounds, some of the smells you grew up with, and how they influence who you are today.
Sure. That was a very long time ago. It take me back so long ago. So I grew up just outside of Detroit, and at that time Motown was actually in Detroit. It was before it had moved to California, and so I grew up with sounds of Motown. You know, like the '60s Motown. So those are my sounds. My grandparents are immigrants from Italy. And so my smells are food, you know, the delicious foods from that Italian culture, but also really appreciating what culture meant, right? To be with people who come from a different place, who are discriminated against because they didn't speak English, because they looked different. They had different ways of being. And so those were some of the early influences of my life, some of the sounds and parts of those cultures.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And, you know, I began hearing about Civia, you know, from Jeff, you know, your son. And then I began interacting with you directly about it. I dropped off my kids to one of your summer camps as well. And so I know the work you do is important, especially for Kenya. You know, many people are projecting that Kenya is going to be one of the tech hubs of the world, you know. It already is, you know. Mobile money was first invented in Kenya, you know, and now everybody is using mobile money. And so the work you're doing is actually putting the foundation where many people are not putting the work, you know. The government of Kenya and many other institutions are doing great work, providing basic education. But now these tech skills are critically needed, and you're doing it. So I want you to just share with us why you started Civia.
Sure.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay. So I'm a very long-time STEM educator, as you know. Rebecca was one of my students a long time ago. And STEM education has always been really important to me. I think as a woman who grew up in the 60s and 70s, we didn't have the same opportunities to pursue STEM, and really understanding that not having that representation within that community was a deficit. And then one time I was the dean of academics at a private school, and they were going to go to Kenya. And I've always wanted to go to the African continent. If you've been in my house, I have artifacts, all kinds of things that I've collected.
That was all decorated with.
Yeah, so I've collected artwork from Kenya for a long, long time. I've always been fascinated. So I went really to set up a sister school partnership. That's why I went.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I met really pretty remarkable people, mostly educators who really cared deeply about their children that they taught and really wanted something better for their kids. And so they invited me back. They asked me to actually do a demonstration teaching for them. And they just crowded the room with lots of important questions, and their heart was just so full of what they could do differently on behalf of their kids. And they invited me to come back. And when I came back, it was as a STEM educator. And what they wanted to do is to think about how they might be able to bring STEM alive for their kids. The digital divide is really wide, and the opportunities that we afford young people all around the world are not available to kids who live in poor rural Kenya, which is where you grew up too, Simon. And so if you go in the big cities, there's more opportunities, but when you go into the rural regions, that's not the case. And so they asked me to come back and work with them and make STEM what they said, student-centered. So I was like, okay, well, let's go figure this out together. And it's really important for me to appreciate their culture and to think about the realities that they have in their communities, because it's not about how I approach STEM education as a STEM educator. It's about what they needed from their communities. So we started just working together and partnering together, and I started this little project. So we talked about Mercer Island, and that's where I was teaching at the time. And we started a project where the kids in Kenya offered perspective on a science project at the same time the kids here were doing an investigation and learning about that. And so we had projects, things like malaria, right? We haven't experienced malaria in this country since 1953. But malaria, as you know, is a real reality there. So, but we were doing all kinds of cutting-edge research here on malaria. So our kids went to science research institutions and learned about them. And the kids there were telling us about the reality of what it meant, felt like, how they missed school, and all of those things. So I had a group of girls from Mercer Island who were partnering with these kids from these schools in Kenya, and they were sharing perspectives and they were sharing ideas. And through this, they started these friendships, right? This is kind of an interesting thing. This was before Zoom. We had Skype in that time, and we certainly had Google Docs, and we started putting our things in there. We did interviews of research scientists and brought them back and forth. And the girls from Mercer Island, there were 3 of them who did this project, and they looked at me and they said, "Is it true that some kids don't get to go to school in Kenya? You mean their boys are chosen over girls?" And they learned this from their partners through this science experiment, right? And the girls were like, "That's not okay." So in 2013, they started a scholarship program for the girls in Kenya. And they said, we're going to make a difference on behalf of those young people. So over these years, I've kept in touch with the STEM educators, and we meet and still continue to open up opportunities for STEM education. And the girls from Mercer Island have grown this beautiful scholarship program. Last year, they offered scholarships to 125 students.
Wow.
So the opportunity, the opportunities are just to learn about community. I mean, a lot of your speakers have been talking about community. Like, we're just one big global community, right? Like, I offer my expertise on a monthly basis where teachers come on Zoom. 95 teachers join me, and I teach them about, we call it pedagogy. How do you teach science that makes it approachable for kids? And these young people from Mercer Island and also Vashon Island also come together, and they learn about each other, their cultures, and they really break down the barriers. Like, they learn that we're all the same, right? I didn't do anything special to have this opportunity of my birth. I didn't do anything at all, but it happened to be. So what can I offer in terms of my own expertise and value that might help someone else thrive and benefit? So a part of our project also is technology. So how do we bring, I can't meet on Zoom with my educator friends without having technology. So we've actually put in internet into all 10 of the schools that we work with, which also gives the young people a chance to communicate every month, and they get to meet their pen pals, and they learn about each other, and they learn about the wonderful, beautiful people that they really are, and they teach each other a lot. It's not about the Mzungus who are there to, to take care of these poor little Kenyan. I learned so much. I'm so inspired all the time. And we do this because we have this opportunity to share with one another, and we really value education and the power of education to make a difference in the lives of people as they move forward in the world. So we integrate digital technology within the context of our world. We make the invisible science, things like atoms, come alive with simulations. And the teachers are thriving and the kids are thriving. And we even have a big science competition that we just finished where kids think about what's in my community that I could use my science understanding to make a difference. So it's a multifaceted ecosystem of how we pull all these things together. But it's really it's my passion to be able to help others see the importance of STEM education, because I really think it's the future for a lot of people, and a lot of opportunities will open and doors will open for young people who wouldn't otherwise have been able to see those chances. So yeah.
You know, when you look at life in general, forget about Civia for a moment, all of us just want to live a great life and leave a legacy, leave something that when we look back, we can say that, wow, I did that. I'm okay now even if I go,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I feel like you've done enough that you should be okay with, even if you didn't do Civia, And I feel like you could just go to the Caribbean and just enjoy the rest of your life, but you're here.
My husband tells me that too. So.
You're here. The other day I was hearing that you're waking up at 5 almost every day talking to the kids in Kenya. Why are you so passionate about this? Why is this so important to you? Because I feel like you already have a legacy.
Well, I had a great career teaching, and really I feel like I had the opportunity to impact a lot of young people, as you say. But, when someone reaches out and says, will you help us? Will you join us? Will you help us to be better? I just can't say no, right? It's like these are people that have such a big heart and and these young people have so much resilience and future and hope. And it would be hard to turn away from them when I know that with a little bit of effort, 5:30 in the morning, sure, but with a little bit of effort, I can make a bigger difference or help people so that they can make differences in their community. So, yeah.
I love that.
I think we're called to do things. I mentioned this the other day about having guardian angels in our lives who call upon us to do things. And Simon, even when we did the Harambe the other day, that was just like, you were my guardian angel too. I was just like, hey, Simon, how about this? And we've known each other for a lot of years. And it was just, these people in our lives that we can help connect and reconnect to make a difference. It's what we're called to do on this earth. So Caribbean and getting a suntan wouldn't really be my idea of what I would do with my life. So,
I'm just grateful, I want us to talk about Madaraka Festival. When did you first hear about it? What do you think about it? Do you think it's even needed in our community at this moment?
Well, I was just reminiscing with you for a moment because when Kerrigan was born, that's your firstborn, and she was just an infant. You had her on the front pack. And I went to your first Madaraka Festival, and McElroy was there. And I took a selfie with him, like hardly even knowing who McElroy is, right? Because he's not my generation, right? And everybody was like, oh my gosh, look what you did. But, you really had a passion, and this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, you have to follow your passion, you have to follow your heart. And this is what your talent is and what is really meaningful to you in your life. So to be able to let that blossom and grow and shine and share with others, I think it's really an important and beautiful opportunity that you're sharing yourself and with the greater community.
Thank you. Look at this camera and invite everyone to join us on August 30th at Pier 62.
We'd like to invite you to come to the Madaraka Festival on August the 30th at Pier 62 and join Simon and his band and a lot of other wonderful people who want to share their gifts with all of the rest of us in our community. So please join us.
Perfect. also share how people can support you. If
Sure.
someone is watching and they want to support the work you're doing at Civia, how can they do it?
Yeah, please visit Civia.org, www.civia.org. It's a webpage, and on there you'll learn a little bit about us. As I told Simon earlier today, social media isn't my thing, but you'll find a lot of really interesting and good things there and a way to donate. But, you know, your donations make an enormous difference, as all of us who work in Kenya know, that a little bit goes a long way, and we're able to support teacher training, students to have these innovation projects, scholarship programs, mentorship programs for young people. You'll make a huge difference in a community that really needs all of us to wrap our arms around them and help them to grow and thrive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. And to everybody who joined us online, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and leave your comment down below. Peace.